This is the Martini Mortgage Podcast with Kevin Martini.
Hello and welcome. This is Kevin Martini, and I'm a mortgage strategist that helps families and my real estate partners create wealth in real estate. And this is episode 8 of the Martini Mortgage Podcast. Now, this episode is all about the things to consider when buying a home. So, as we start, as a primer, 4 times a year, I create a home buyer guide called the Kevin Martini Things to Consider When Buying a Home. I curate the content in this free publication to simply and effectively communicate the current market opportunities. You see, I believe in homeownership. I believe that homeownership builds wealth over time and in the long run. I also believe buying is more cost-effective than renting. To echo this sentiment, according to the most recent Federal Reserve survey of consumer finances, in the past 15 years, the net worth of a typical homeowner has ranged between 31 and 46 times that of the net worth of a typical renter. The data shows that the median homeowners had nearly $200,000 in net worth, or 36 times that of the median renter who just had over $5,000 in net worth. Is homeownership right for you? I do not know if homeownership is right for you. However, I do know a no-obligation conversation with a trusted mortgage strategist would be smart so you can understand your options. The Martini Mortgage Group at Benchmark Mortgage believes there is no substitute for education, and one should make a decision on whether to buy or not to buy based on facts, not myths. Let me share this with you. There are a ton of myths out there on what it takes to get a home loan today. Know before you owe, and to do that, I invite you to give the Martini Mortgage Group at Benchmark Mortgage a jingle. It would be our pleasure to help. Because of the myths and because this world has a lot of noise about housing, that is why I published the Kevin Martini Things to Consider When Buying a Home. This summer 2018 edition was recently released, and you can get free access without even entering your name or email address by going to www.martinibuyerguide.com. This home buyer guide has 16 or 17 articles based on factual data. No fake news is going to be found in the pages of the Kevin Martini Things to Consider When Buying a Home. Now, I have divided this guide into 3 sections, and they are what you need to know before you buy. Then there is what is happening in the housing market. And then the final section is what to expect when buying a home. Again, for a free copy, just go to www.martinibuyerguide.com. The opening article is entitled 4 Reasons to Buy a Home This Summer. Let me right now give you a brief Cliff Notes version of just 2 of those reasons. But first, as a primer, let me tell you about a company called CoreLogic. CoreLogic collects and maintains the largest and, in my opinion, most comprehensive property data. Their data and analytics is very, very, very powerful. CoreLogic's most recent home price index report shows that home prices have appreciated by over 7% in the last 12 months. This same report predicts that home prices will continue to move upward, and over the next year, home values will rise over 5%. Here's the Martini Factor nugget. There was a bottom in home prices. However, the bottom you cannot see in the rearview mirror anymore. Home values should continue to appreciate, and this means waiting to buy a home no longer makes sense. Now, every market is different, and real estate is local, and I am a mortgage nerd, not a real estate guru. With that being said, I partner with some very talented real estate professionals that have a servant heart. So if you're considering to buy a home in Raleigh, North Carolina, or anywhere in the Triangle of North Carolina, just give me a call and I will match you up with a realtor you can trust. Now again, I am a trusted Raleigh mortgage lender, and this is a mortgage podcast. So another reason to buy a home this summer is because of mortgage rates. Mortgage interest rates are projected to increase. Just in 2018, home rates have increased over 0.5%. When we look at the predictions from the Mortgage Bankers Association, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the National Association of Realtors, they all agree and project that mortgage rates will increase by at least another 0.5% by this time next year. This is critical and a good opportunity to share another Martini Factor nugget. An increase in interest rates will impact your monthly payment. Over the last 45 years, interest rates for a 30-year fixed mortgage have ranged from as high as 18.63% in 1981 to as low as 3.31% in 2012. It is my opinion, we will not see these rates that we saw in 2012 again within my lifetime. A sign of a good economy is higher mortgage rates. Now, when mortgage interest rates move higher by just 1%, then your buying power is reduced by 10%. This is significant, friends, since most people buy not based on price, but based on their monthly budget. Speaking of budget, when buying a home, it is my opinion you need to consider cost, not just price. There is a great article that can be found on page 7 of Kevin Martini's Things to Consider When Buying a Home. Again, you can get free and instant access without registration by going to www.martinibuyerguide.com. As a seller, you will be most concerned about the short-term price. In other words, where are home values headed over the next 6 months? But as a buyer, you must be concerned about price instead of the long-term cost of a home. As previous mentioned, CoreLogic predicts an appreciation of over 5% over the next 12 months. What does this mean? It means this: if a home today is worth $250,000, then in 12 months, that exact same home will be worth $263,000. Yes, the exact same house based on CoreLogic's data will be worth $13,000 more. How long would you have to work to make $13,000? For crumb's sakes, you need a roof over your head. Why not own that roof? Here is the good news. If you do not buy a home today and wait, your landlord will make this predicted appreciation and you will be paying their mortgage for them. Now, home prices are not the only thing expected to increase. Mortgage interest rates are expected to rise too. A 0.5% move in interest rates from the previous example could cost you an extra $146.35 a month. That would mean an extra $1,756.20 a year. And over 30 years, we're talking $52,686 more. Here is a Kevin Martini fact. If buying a home is in your plan for this year, doing it sooner rather than later could save you thousands of dollars over the term of the loan.
You're listening to the Martini Mortgage Podcast. Powerful information to help simplify and effectively explain the process of buying a home and securing a mortgage. Because it's not just a house, it's a home.
Welcome back back to the Martini Mortgage Podcast, and we're talking about things to consider when buying a home. This is the title of my summer 2018 edition of my homebuyer guide, and you can get free and instant access without registration by going to www.martinibuyerguide.com. Now, we have talked about rising home values, and we have talked about rising rates, and I bet you are saying this: Kevin Martini, with mortgage rates rising, do you really think that home prices will rise too? If you're asking this great question, guess what? There's a wonderful article on page 9 and 10 of the Kevin Martini Things to Consider When Buying a Home. You see, Freddie Mac published an insight report titled "Nowhere to Go But Up: How Increasing Mortgage Rates Could Affect Housing." The report focused on the impact the projected rise in mortgage rates might have on the housing market this year. Many believe that the increase in mortgage rates will cause a slowdown in purchases, which would in turn lead to a fall of home values. But I need to highlight, ultimately, home prices are determined by supply and demand. And while rising mortgage rates may slow demand, they may or may not affect supply. Let me go a little bit deeper. If you're a home seller, your decision most likely to buy a home is normally tied to selling your current house. So the economics of your current mortgage is a big part of the decision if you make the move or not. Does that make sense? Many people have mortgage rates right now that start with a 2 or even a very low 3. And for them to sell, they would be giving up their below market financing. This means pressure on supply since they're not going to sell. Lower supply keeps pressure on prices. In addition, the last 6 times mortgage rates rose by at least 1%, home values increased every time. Most recently, November 2012 to December 2013, mortgage interest rates increased 1.11%. And during that same period of time, home prices increased plus 11%. Here's the Kevin Martini bottom line. Whether you are a move-up buyer or a first-time home buyer waiting to purchase your next home based on the belief that home prices will fall because of rising mortgage rates makes absolutely no sense based on the data. Right now, there is an opportunity, and I want to talk about a personal opportunity that I had to pass on once. If you've been following me for a while, or if you know me personally, you already know that I married my high school sweetheart. Her name is Ronnie, and this year we will be married for 32 years. When she and I were first married, we were very broke. I mean, we were so very broke, and my father-in-law offered us a pre-owned Chevrolet Monte Carlo for free. I mean, it cost nothing. It was ours. All we had to do was pay for the insurance. We had to decline because we could not afford the insurance at that time. Again, did I mention we were broke? That is an undisputed fact. You see, some opportunities that are so great you have to decline. However, they should be declined based on facts, not myths. There are 2 myths that may be holding you back from the current opportunity of owning a home, and they may be associated with down payment and credit score. Let me share. You do not need 20% down payment to buy a home today and to secure a mortgage today. The Martini Mortgage Group at Benchmark Mortgage has low and no down payment programs. You may believe that you need to have a credit score of, say, 780 to secure a mortgage. Recently, I've helped a family that had a credit score at 581. On page 13 of Kevin Martini's Things to Consider When Buying a Home, there is a great article that talks about the misconceptions about buying a home and what is needed to buy a home. Check out this article and all the articles in this summer edition of the Kevin Martini Things to Consider When Buying a Home by visiting www.martinibuyerguide.com. The Martini Mortgage Group at Benchmark Mortgage was founded on relationships because people matter the most. The Martini Mortgage Group at Benchmark Mortgage offers trusted advice that you can bank on with great mortgage rates while providing on-time real estate closings with a world-class experience. Thank you for tuning in to episode 8 of the Martini Mortgage Podcast, which is all about things to consider when buying a home. Thank you in advance for subscribing and for leaving a 5-star review on iTunes. Our family is your family lender. And always remember, it's not about how big the house is. It's about how happy the home is.
Thanks for listening to the Martini Mortgage Podcast with mortgage strategist Kevin Martini. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Martini Group and check out our website at martinimortgagegroup.com. Tune in next week for another episode of the Martini Mortgage Podcast.